Mark Gale, do you have an inspiration for us this morning?
Yes, I do. I don't know how many of you guys remember Dan Ruperel.
Yep.
Dan always had, when he did the inspiration, the Ruperel moment, which was a moment of silence. So if we could all turn around and do the Ruperel moment of silence. And may it be so.
Thanks, Mark. That was inspirational. Jeannie, would you like to lead us in the pledge, please?
I would. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Diane Zing, do you have a Rotary moment?
I do. We had this up. No, it's not showing. Sorry, it was just
Anyway, Jay, it costs less than $1,000 round trip to get to Hong Kong right now. For the flight.
Oh, you want that?
Okay, minutes up. No.
Okay. All right. Just need a little bit of down. Could you help me with the light? I'm sorry. It's fine. Guys, I apologize.
Microphone.
Oh, Fred.
Microphone.
Thank you.
Okay.
I looked at business class.
I'm going to try to do this well. So we have spent a lot of time every single time we meet learning something about Rotary. I am a financial advisor, so sometimes my focus tends to be on the financials. So I just wanted to show you guys, if I'm able to, oh good heavens. I guess it helps if you turn this thing on. Yes. Oh wait, it helps if you actually plug it in. Plugging in, yeah, it's really hard to be cute and bright at the same time. So that's all I'm going to say. Oh my gosh, thank you. Help me out here. Okay, Rotary International, being rated is really, really important. Charity Navigator, if you're familiar with that group, it's a non-biased, non-connected group that rates the effectiveness and ethical standings of any charity. Rotary International has had 4 stars, which is the most you can get, 11 consecutive times. So I really appreciate the fact that Rotary has been very, very on top, and those are very high scores, 97, 96, and even 100. Go ahead. Another thing we look at quite a bit is the expense for administrative costs. There are some, quote, nonprofits or charitable organizations, when you look at their financials, 20, 30% is going to administrative costs, which counts salaries. Not that there aren't administrative costs, but it's kind of nice to know that Rotary International is extremely streamlined. 2.9% is very, very low. Okay. That's very, very good rating. Oh, that shouldn't have been it, but okay, doesn't matter. So basically, there are a couple funds of assets. The annual fund, contributions to the annual fund, they're basically invested for 3-year, rolling 3 years. And the purpose of those funds is to cover administrative costs. Their responsibility, they span, most of it's fixed income. They use 58% of their assets are in fixed income. A little bit of equities, 20% equities, a little bit of natural resources, and even some real estate. So that's good to know. The point is, when assets are being managed, we want to be prudent, we want to be conservative, but we also want to be responsible. Having millions of dollars just sitting because we want to be conservative is actually it's a detriment to the organization. So their annual funds group has been very, very good. The endowment, on the other hand, are funds that are invested in perpetuity. So the earnings and interest gained from that is what helps fund other projects. And that particular account, the endowment account, does take on a little bit more risk because the whole point is they do want that to grow. It's invested differently than the annual funds that are needed. Let me see. Yeah, and 85% of those assets are in assets that do take on market risk. So as you can imagine, in 2007, a lot of accounts were down in that recession up to 40%, but the endowment fund was only down 21. They were very responsible for the last historical data that I can even find. And then last but not least, dun dun dun, the Polio Plus Fund, everything that they invest in the Portfolio Plus Fund is in short-term equities, and they do a very good job at having interest and dividend-bearing accounts to help offset the cost for the whole project of Polio Plus. And of course, Bill and Melinda Gates and other organizations that donate funds really beef up this account. The returns over the past few years have been low interest, but of course the interest rates in this market is pretty bad. It's pretty low right now. So the bottom line is, I just wanted to point out that when you dig deep into the financials for Rotary International in general, and just how they handle their funds, how they handle admin, they are very responsible, and it makes me that much more proud to be part of an organization that is so cautious, conservative, and respectable. And I just wanted you to understand the back office stuff. So thank you.
Thank you, Diane. All right, and we do have a business minute today from Greg Cottrell.
Right.
Microphone. Microphone, Greg.
I didn't realize we were going to be quite so formal here. There was a photo that I sent to John. Is that going to come up, or?
Are you ready for it?
Sure. It doesn't matter.
There you go.
Don't ask me to work it. There you go. So that's a little bit of the history of our company. We have 4 brothers that kind of the stars aligned at one time back in 1971, and we decided to start a printing company. And so we bought a little piece of ground out on Arapahoe Road 47 years ago. And it was, as you can see, this is literally right off Arapahoe Road. So, I mean, that's what it looked like 47 years ago. And we were in that building clear until the year 2000. And as the business grew, we finally needed to move. And that location is breaking ground on the corner of Arapahoe and Arapahoe Road in Emporia. And that is where Tom Shane is now. So, and then we moved to the facility that we're in now, which is just up the street here on Havana, just up from Top Golf. And we moved into that building. We built it larger than we needed. We have some wings that we kind of lease out to other tenants, and we take about 35,000 feet in that building. We've got about 65 employees there. And the departments that they work in at the print shop include offset printing, digital printing, art and design, mailing, fulfillment, large format printing, banners, and things like that as well. We're lucky. We've kind of been on the edge of the needs of printing. Of course, printing business has changed a great deal over the years. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be printed anymore, but printing still has a very viable part in the economy of the country and in business. And we've been lucky that we kind of foresaw that maybe a little bit, and so our doors are still open, and we're doing fairly well, actually. We do have customers through printing brokers. We work with individual businesses, and we work with art designers as well that bring us work for customers that they have. Some of those customers include Comcast, Chipotle, some very large churches, and a number of others. But we also have a lot of customers that are smaller businesses as well. And I guess finally I would say about our business is that Cottrell Printing was kind of really years ahead in sustainability, in the idea printing industry can use a lot of resources, but we were way ahead of the game in recycling. We also joined the Forest, now I forgot what it's called, Forest Stewardship Alliance, which guaranteed that we were only using paper from managed forests. And then we're very proud of our staff, and that they are, many people in our staff are involved with community organizations, well, such as Rotary and things like that as well. We also have been very involved with the Young Americans, economic education programs, learning financial things that Diane has talked about so many times before. So at any rate, but this piece of ground here, back to the very beginning, I guess you might be able to pick out which one is me. But at any rate, when we built that building on Arapahoe Road, Tom Shane actually did move in right next to us, but he wasn't on Arapahoe Road, we were. And so he always had that ad, you might remember, you know, that he was 1/2 block off Arapahoe Road on Emporia Street or whatever, for those of you that are Denverites. And then, you all might remember some of his ads too. And in his ads, we had a marquee on the corner with our printing company, and we put up a sign that said, "You now have a friend in the printing business." So that's it. That's our business minute.
How about a question? A question for you?
Yeah.
Question for you. When are you going to go back to that hairstyle?
Sorry?
When are you going to grow back that hairstyle?
Oh, yeah. Well, if I had it, I would.
I'd like.
He's the
I'm the one in the red shirt.
Yeah.
I would like to point out that as Greg sent me this picture to put up here, and I went through it. I noticed that the one guy up here is only one wearing a tie, so you can guess who that was. And this is visual proof that Greg Cottrell is outstanding in his field.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for that, John. Appreciate that. All right, I want to first off, thanks, Greg. That's great, and I love the picture you have in your office of the aerial shot. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's great. I'd like to thank Diana and Doug Hanna for setup and takedown today. Paul Fritzler, he did a great job greeting. Oh, there you are. Okay. And Mark, that was an inspiration. Jeannie, thanks for the pledge. Best one I heard all week. I would like to introduce some visiting Rotarians, but before I do that, I just want to let you know that we did have 3 applications for membership. All 3 applications were passed last week at the board meeting, and they will be inducted right at the first meeting in April. But Lori, would you like to stand up, just say hello? And Deborah? All right. And Gordon Close is not here today, but he is also one of the triumvirate. So they'll be here next 2 weeks from now. We'll induct them in. All right, birthdays. Cheryl, you have a birthday this week? Not this week, the 26th? No, Cheryl.
Not me.
That's what it says in the... No?
It says summer.
Okay, well, then something's wrong in the spreadsheet. Joan Hablutzel, her birthday is on the 22nd. And we do have a couple of anniversaries. Andres and Ivan Osuna are on the 15th. That was last week. Well, it was after, so. And then Barbara and Vern Hansen on the 28th. That's their anniversary? Vern's not here today? All right, and then we do have an anniversary, a Rotary anniversary this month, and that's Don Shattuck. Be 4 years. 4 years. Don said it feels like 10, so. Now, since Karen is gone, we do need to have the attendance sheet signed out front, so if you didn't sign it, please sign the attendance sheet before you leave.
There is a sheet out there, and I put my name on it.
Okay, all right, well that's
And
the,
there's a whole list of names on there, so some people understood.
well, I'm just reminding everyone that if they didn't sign the sheet, to sign the sheet. Thank you. All right. Mr. Peterson, would you like to explain to us what's new on the website this week?
I would like to explain to you all. So we're going to start something new. It's called the Website Minute. And all I'm going to do is show you something every week on what you can do with this website. So the first thing that I want you to notice is if you go to the calendar, you can find all of the things that are going on with our club. And they're all in different colors and everything else. Now what I want to go to, so you can see that we have the State of our City coming up, and if you want to sign up to attend it and be part of it, you can come down here and you have a place here which says State of our City Centennial Rotary Club Volunteer. And if you click on that, you'll be able to go right into the part of it and sign up. And it says, please use the members button to register for lunch if you want to pay $22 for lunch. And it says, please use the SOOC Club Rotarian button on the left to volunteer to help. So that's your Rotary Minute for this week. I don't know. I have to check on that. The question is, it will download to Google Calendar. I don't know.
John, can you put up the page where it says the tasks?
Yeah.
Since we've gone to the website for weekly tasks.
Okay. Now here's another little thing. If you ever want to go back to the home page, you just come, if I could get the mouse there, you just come over here to where it says Rotary, and that'll bring you back to the home page. Coming down the left side of the home page is where we meet our sponsors, the people who run this joint, and last but not least, the responsibilities for this week.
That's March 12th.
Well, it's supposed to say the right date, but these were the, I'll have to talk to Mr. Allen about that. But anyway, that's where you'll find where your responsibilities are. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Peterson. And by the way, just to remind the club, the fact that we went to Club Runner and all the software and everything, it saved us $500 for just the reservation system for State of the City. That's what we paid last. You know, we have to pay Black Tie $500 when we sign up with them, so no more. So we save $500 on that. Mr. Ostergaard, would you like a few moments?
Yeah, please. We're looking for a couple volunteers to join the review panel for the Rock Hill Community College Scholarship Fund. We have 3 of us now, myself, Vern Hansen, and Phil Chaporos. We're also looking for a couple more. Ideally, we'd love 5, 4 works. So if you're interested, the applications will actually be coming out this week from ACC. We should have them by Friday. And we will forward those to you if you let me know that you would like to be on that panel. And all you have to do is review the applications and the essays that they give us and make your selection. And with that, I'd also like to go into, great, thanks. Cheryl, great, all right, that was easy.
There you go.
And I'd also like to take the opportunity to remind everybody that we are taking applications for this year's RILA conferences, RILA camps. And I have 2 applicants already for the 2 slots that we have for young RILA. However, as of Sunday, I have 0 applications for senior RILA. So if you know a junior, this year's sophomore or junior who would be interested in attending this leadership camp at Estes Park in the summer, please have them go to the website and apply at www.rmryla.org. And that's a great opportunity for these young people. Thank you.
Thanks, Kent. And I'd like to call upon our PowerPoint princess, Diana Y. You said you wanted to talk about PowerPoint. Oh, one-on-one. I misunderstood. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's all right. I think it's because you didn't have any breakfast today, but that's just me. Ann West has asked for more than a moment.
More than a moment. First of all, Roxy, your bag.
Thank you.
Roxy contributed stuff, and she said, I want that bag back. I'm all choked up about it. I wanted to stand up and say that I put out the invitations yesterday for Meals on Wheels, and immediately I had 3 people sign up. I like that. In fact, I'm thinking about saying to my group, and they are fabulous people, that the first 5 are going to get some kind of little gift for signing up. But Karen signed up right here. She is actually my most active. Sometimes she does twice a month. And then, excuse me, Dave Walsher did it. And also Doug Hanna. And Doug is frequently my first one. So please, if you are part of my group, go in and look at your invitation while there's still slots available. I had something else. Chat group. Thank you, John Peterson, who is part of my chat group. We have lucky number 7 is meeting tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock at Hobson's. I was talking with Patrick, and he said, where is that? Well, that is in Streets of South Glen. It's on the back street, sort of across from, I wanted to get like that. Women do places, men do directions. But anyway, so it's across from the movie theater. It's 5 o'clock, and I want lots of you to join us, because when I told the manager there would probably be 4 in his private alcove, he was not happy. So I need more people. Thank you.
Mr. Butler. Thanks, Ann.
May I piggyback on that, and by asking, a couple groups have already met. And we had about 50%, participation. So there's a few folks that may have found the timing for your particular group not perfect. So Ann's group is meeting at a nice happy hour time, which I think is perfect for me anyway. But if I could ask our other group leaders to tell when they are meeting, if you would, if that time isn't best for you, maybe you'll hear a time somebody else is announcing, and you can jump in on that. And somebody else asked me, and if they could bring a spouse or partner or significant other, I would not, talk you out of it. If you want to take your friend, it doesn't matter to us. This is all just kind of a small scale social opportunity. Diane, when are you guys meeting?
So we don't have a date set up, but I'll resend an email today. I sent out sent out an email asking which of these days works for you, and some people said they didn't see that, and some people didn't respond. So my group, I'm going to send another email today, but I won't use the software thing. I'll just send a normal email.
Yeah, you guys already know, at least 2/3 of you know that this is really hard to coordinate, and everybody's making some attempt with the software or telephone or whatever. It's really hard to coordinate. So do your best to at least let your chat leader know that you can or cannot make it. But you have other opportunities. I know that Randy Pye's group, they were tentative for the Blizzard. Did they get another spot? No. So we're still okay. Karen Berry, I think Karen is her group meeting next. They're meeting next Wednesday, right? Next Wednesday afternoon.
Well, let's find out.
Anybody confirm that? Karen Berry's group's on the 27th. Mark Garfinkel, when's your group meeting?
We're meeting tomorrow at 5 at Jay's Volcano Restaurant.
Oh.
And Jay has wonderfully reserved the private room for us.
Very nice.
So
Perfect example. Jay cannot make it to our group, but look, he's got this opportunity to be at that group. How good could that be? Let's see. Cheryl's group's already met. Cheryl Sartain. My group meets tomorrow morning at Perfect Landing. You breakfast guys that find mornings more opportunistic. Tomorrow at 7:30 at Perfect Landing, Roxy's restaurant up there at the airport. She's doing omelets for us. And then Ann just announced hers, and Group 8 has already met. And also there's a couple.
No, Group 8 canceled. They canceled because Cherry Creek schools were closed.
Yeah. Lori and Deborah, and if there's anybody that's new that's not on the group, if you please jump in. You didn't have the good fortune of being on this email that we sent out a month ago. If you hear a time that makes some sense to you, please show up. Everybody try to find one that works in your schedule. Thanks.
Notice that they're all right there on the 5 minutes, the calendar, all your yellow ones. Yellow ones. Oh, wow. You're so great. Oh, thank you.
There's all kinds of things you can learn by going to the website.
Oh, isn't that amazing?
It really is. Really is. Does anybody else have any business they'd like to discuss? Yes, Roxy.
First of all, I think Tim announced last week, and I'll announce again, that on our foundation board, there are 3 members whose terms are expiring. They are choosing to run for the foundation again. However, we are accepting applications at large. So please let me know. Send me an email that you would like to be on the ballot. It's a 3-year term. The other thing I wanted to say is, as you know and I talked about before, is our North American Youth Exchange Conference was last week. And our first day of registration was Wednesday. So we had about 100 people there on Tuesday for pre-conference meetings. And we had a plethora, like hundreds of emails of people who weren't going to be able to get there. By Thursday morning, we had 150 people that arrived. And believe it or not, by the end of the conference, we had 325 people. Wow. They were so resilient. We had 2 ladies from Italy arrived on Saturday morning. They just kept coming. And we had a guy from Mexico arrived before the banquet on Saturday night and registered. So our conference was a really great success. I'm sorry more of you couldn't take advantage of an opportunity that'll probably not be in Denver again for maybe, say 15 years. But really great speakers and breakout events about working with youth. We had also a big contingent of people who were Rotex, who are returning exchange students. And we're trying to get a real active Rotex group going in our district. Thank you.
Thanks, Roxy. And, Roxy's doing a fine job with that program. I tell you, I don't think that they would be where they are today without your efforts. Absolutely not. Okay, do we have any travel gifts? Oh, go ahead, Don. Go ahead.
I found out last week how many people read the newsletter. I had the wrong date in the newsletter for the blessing bags. It is this Wednesday, not April 21st. So sent the newsletter out and bing, 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 bing. I'm getting all these emails. I had the wrong date in there. So just remember, blessing bags is this Wednesday and not next month.
All right.
He did it on purpose just to see who's reading it.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have a travel gift. Are we there yet? Travel gift?
Travel gifts, yes. I think we are.
Okay, so I went to Costa Rica and spent a week there. And I know we're a drinking group. However, I didn't check any bags. I just did carry-on. And it's weird going 7-8 days without a pair of socks, right? But I got this coconut, and it's carved, and this cork is just like shoved in there, right? So I go through customs, in the U.S., and the customs guard says, open that coconut. And I couldn't get the cork out of it. And he said, well, then you're going to have to break that coconut. No. So I'm like, okay. Well, so I got the cork out finally because they wanted to look inside of it. So there's a little story behind it, but coconut from Costa Rica.
Where's Randy Pie? I'm sure people don't want that.
All right, Tom.
Yes, we spent last week in Arizona. I heard it was a good time to be there. And we went in on Wednesday to the baseball game between the Rockies and the Diamondbacks, and looked about from me to Tim, and there was Paul Horiuchi and Bev Horiuchi. And we hadn't arranged that. We were right behind the batter's box. But anyway, one of the days we went out to a place called Tortilla Flat.
Oh,
I think it's tortilla, not tequila. Anyway, this is a really neat little bear. This is a Navajo-made pottery. And one interesting thing they told us about it, the black blotches on it for decoration are part of the process. They take horse hair and put it on it before they fire it, and it kind of melts the hair actually. But anyway, that's an interesting item.
Did you happen to talk to Paul?
Oh yeah, we chatted quite a bit.
He's doing okay? He and his wife?
Yeah, he's hanging in there.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Any other travel gifts? Well, with that, Mark Garfinkel has agreed to do Happy Bucks.
All right. We're going to start with a presidential question.
Yay!
What U.S. president served the most time in executive office? How the game is played, if you know the answer, tell me the answer. If you get it right, I put $1 in. If you get it wrong, you put $1 in. Okay? Happy Bucks at this table. What U.S. president served the most time in executive office? Any Happy Bucks? John?
Just a happy buck.
Just a Happy Buck. Okay. This table here, any Happy Bucks? Patrick?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I'm just happy that St. Patrick's Day just comes once a year because it's my birthday, my wife's birthday on St. Patrick's Day, and we started celebrating Friday night, and then I walked in the parade on Saturday, and then we went to Maggie Smith's on Sunday at 11:30 for breakfast, and we left at like 5 o'clock in the evening. So. During that time, they started off with Irish step dancers, and then they had bagpipers come in, and then they had a...
Try a different mic.
Then they had a band play for about an hour.
Something back. It's...
They don't...
Patrick, I think it's you.
We're all going to be happy when that stops.
This is like the fire trucks leaving. I think it's the aliens. It's either aliens or Russians.
All right.
My fault, I admit it.
Again, it's hard to be cute and bright at the same time.
That's those darn Brits. They don't want me talking. Anyway, they had bagpipers twice in there, a band playing, dancers, and I left there in the evening. I was still sober, believe it or not.
Patrick, do you own stock in Maggie Smith's? Because I think I saw you there last Wednesday evening, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to... yeah, Slattery's as well, yeah. Actually, the guy that owns it is from Dublin.
I have a couple of bucks. One for John for just fixing that. That's awesome. And two, for many of you know that I'm a Nebraskan, and another buck, I'm happy that the water is beginning to recede, because my hometown, though the town itself doesn't flood, a lot of the lowlands around it flooded. We lost a couple of people trying to save other people, and it was the first time that's happened in years. And so this really, in '93, at the last flood like this, I was called up in the National Guard and had to sit out like 3 nights in a row and watch water go up and down on the dike. But this time around, it was even worse, much worse. So I'm glad that's done, and hopefully it won't happen again for like another 25 or 30 years.
Did you have one, Laura?
Happy Five.
Happy Five?
Yep. Nope.
Very good. John?
So, happy Five. But to try to answer your question, when you said in executive office, the question is, are you saying as a president of the United States, or do you mean an executive of any variety? So I'll guess. Maybe Woodrow Wilson was the president of Princeton University and perhaps of college beforehand for many years, and then became president.
Woodrow Wilson was the president of Princeton. At the time, it was the College of New Jersey. But that's not considered executive office of the United States. So,
okay, that's the reason why I wondered whether you were talking about any executive officer.
this is not trying to be a trick.
Okay, so then it would be FDR.
Now, let me ask you this. Those of you who agree with that, you have an opportunity to chime in. For every hand that goes up, if he's correct, I will put $1 in. But if he's incorrect, then you all put $1 in. Who agrees it's FDR? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Did I miss any behind here? 10. Okay. So the answer is incorrect. And so when I come around to your table, give me $1. The answer is Richard Nixon, because he served as vice president for 8 years under Eisenhower, and so therefore that's considered executive office in the United States. And so he, of course, he didn't finish his last term either, and so about a year longer than FDR. Yeah? You're very welcome. This table, Mary Alice, Cheryl. Sure.
My happy buck is for my daughter and her 2 kids, my grandchildren, who were leaving Denver last Wednesday on a flight to North Carolina to be with her husband and their dad for the weekend, or for the week. And they left our house at 5:30 Wednesday morning, and they got out of DIA at 6 o'clock that night. So I think she's earned my happy buck, that they made it there safely.
Did you have one, Charlie?
Give me 19 back.
19 back? Okay, I'll get it to you in a minute. Anyone else at this table? Ann? How many?
2. One of them is because I raised my hand. And the other is, I don't know about you guys, but I love blizzards. When I'm cozy in my house, we didn't have wood. My husband wouldn't let me put it in the fireplace because he thought with that wind, it could put our house on fire. But I just love blizzards.
All right, Greg.
Oh, I've got a happy buck. I went to visit my youngest son out in California. First time I'd seen him, he'd been there about 1.5 years, and got to see where he lives and where he works. And he works with a very large advertising company, and he's 34, and was hired on by them about 1 year ago as a senior vice president. So I told him if he keeps it up, I'm going to retire at the Ritz-Carlton.
There you go. Yeah.
Also, we went skiing while I was out there with him.
Where at?
We went skiing.
Where?
At Bear Mountain,
right
near Los Angeles. And I took my skis out there, and I told him I was really concerned that they might get damaged in traveling. And he said, "Oh, don't worry about it, Dad. They're probably the last pair that you'll ever own." I said, "Well, you little shit, I'm going to..."
Doug, did you have one?
apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it, Greg? Yeah.
I have a happy buck because I'm also from Nebraska, and both the town where I was born and raised, Omaha, and the town where I went to school had some flooding, but nothing serious, and the water is receding.
Last week I told you that my granddaughter was going to be in the program called Trash the Runway in Boulder, where they make outfits out of recycled material or things that would be normally trashed, and she won. And if anyone wants to see the pictures of her and my grandson who modeled the tuxedo, I'd love to show it to you.
All right.
All right, I have one. It's Happy Tuesday, and thank you, John, for your magic hands.
Wow.
And this is a Happy Marble thank you buck for those intrepid investors. When the pot was zero and the odds were terrible, we have money in to seed the next start of the Blue Marble. However, whoever's number is drawn today, the lunch contribution is probably greater than the pot. So we're off to a slow start.
John. I guess Richard Nixon. Put your dollar in. Put your dollar in. Okay, my happy buck is for Patrick McGuire. He indeed did have a St. Patty's Day party last Friday night, and my wife and I attended it, and I found out that Irish people like to drink, and they're all a lot of fun.
Oh, that was just for my...
For the...
5. I'm 5 times happy and grateful that I got to spend some time yesterday with John Peterson, who helped me refine the State of Our City PowerPoint presentation. And in case you guys don't already know this, he is an incredible asset to this organization. So just wanted to say kudos.
Well, I have 5. First, I am grateful for wonderful people that have signed up today to do our classification talk. And I also want to put a plug in for the program committee. We are open to your ideas. If you know a company in Centennial we haven't met, you would like us to bring them on. If you know of a program you would like to share with this club, see Cheryl or John Bellum or myself. We will be glad to bring them in as our program. We're always looking for ideas. I also want to say I survived 16 hours without power last week, but I know there were a few that survived more than that. I've known of people in my area that were 20 and 24 hours without power. So if you were on this side and had power, be grateful. And I was really grateful that several years ago we converted our fireplace into gas because that helped heat my house. Yes. And last night or yesterday afternoon, I looked out my window and here was this really pretty kitty climbing in the tree. And I called the kitty and it actually came in the house. It's a beautiful Siamese, and it decided it would make its home at my house, and it's the sweetest little kitty. I've got to see if I can find its own owner, but I'm grateful for this sweet little kitty to come visit.
Thank you. I have 5. One is I'm grateful that my son is okay. He was part of the crew for the high school production of Spam-A-Lot, and backstage got injured, quite a few lacerations across his face. Wow. And I took him to the hospital, and he's getting all glued up, and he goes, "Don't worry, Mom. Chicks dig scars and glory never fades." And I'm like, "Okay, buddy, whatever you say." But I'm just grateful that that we're all here and that we have different projects we're working on. And happy Tuesday.
So I got $2. I'm grateful for my neighbor because while I was gone, my driveway got shoveled. My neighbor has a really nice snowblower. So I've always had just 2 shovels because I had 2 sons and I didn't need a snowblower. But unfortunately, they've moved out. My wife and I are empty nesters, but I'm grateful for John Peterson because he's my neighbor. And while I was gone, he used his snowblower to clean up all the snow on my sidewalk. So thank you so much, John, for everything you do here, as well as everything you do at home.
What a mensch that John Peterson is.
I have $2. The first one is for Sunday for my daughter. St. Patrick's Day is her birthday. So that was a fun day for us. And the other dollar is it's Tuesday and I'm at Rotary.
All right. Trip.
I owe you $1, but I'll back John up anytime. He's a smart guy. Thank you.
Any other? Hello.
5. I'm just happy to be in this group. It seems like a good group so far, at least at this table. The jury's still out on the rest of you, though. And I just want to say that I'm really happy because my husband and I just finalized our plans and we'll be spending 2 weeks in Portugal in May.
All right. Any other happy bucks? I have one. I went on Saturday night to the prayer vigil at the mosque. Everyone was there, all the elected officials, and it was just a wonderful. This was for the people who got shot in New Zealand. And anyway, that was a great get-together.
Okay, well, I owe you $1 because I raised my hand as well. You suckered me in. And I have 2 others. One is for our new members that will be joining us as members after in the first meeting in April. And the other one is for my board members that braved the non-snow, non-blizzard morning last Wednesday to have a meeting. Not saying anything about the other groups that didn't do anything, but it was an easy drive in. That's it. Thank you. And with that, I would like Jeannie to introduce our first classification talk speaker.
Well, it's nice to know we're getting some more new members, but our first speaker today is Tom Gross, so please welcome Tom. And then our surprise, because our other new member is with his children on spring break. So if you want something done, you ask a busy person. Diane's going to follow him. So Diane Singh is going to give her classification talk, and there are many of us in here that didn't hear it because she's been a member for a long time.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
So, I was born and raised in Pennsylvania, Percy, Pennsylvania, which is outside of Philadelphia, about 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia. And I went to, so I understood there was going to be a big hair contest, so that would be me in the middle there. I think some of that's a shadow, but in any event, that's my family. I grew up with 3 sisters. We have the former son-in-law over there on the right, but my mom and dad. So that was back in Percy, Pennsylvania. I ended up going to the University of Delaware. So I'm a fighting blue hen, if anyone's familiar with that. And I studied accounting, and I graduated with accounting, and I was an auditor in Baltimore for a year and realized that was not for me. And so I bought a pickup truck and decided I wanted to go to Colorado in the West and check things out in between jobs for a few weeks, which turned into be 2 years. And I was up in Steamboat and loved living up in Steamboat and ski bum and all that kind of stuff. So eventually I moved back to Pennsylvania. My dad had a real estate company, and he was in real estate for 40 years. And I joined him, and we worked together for about 10, almost 12 years. Helped facilitate his retirement, so him and my mom moved down to North Carolina. And a couple years later, I became obvious that really wasn't my passion to be in Percy, Pennsylvania indefinitely. I just loved Colorado, wanted to come back to Colorado. So my wife suggested one day maybe we should go to Colorado and move there. So we did. And we sold everything and packed up and moved out here. And that was in 98. And at that point we had our first daughter. She was born in Pennsylvania. Our second daughter became our native Coloradian. She was born in 99. So I moved out here. And then I had the challenge of getting back into real estate. And real estate in Percy was a whole lot different than real estate out here, because that was my hometown and small town, and it was an established business. And I got into real estate here and found out that that was going to be a real challenge. We knew no one here, literally no one. I needed a map book just to get around town. But I ended up working Caldwell Banker, Mark Gale, and I was there for 10 years and started from scratch, literally. And over 10 years and many, many long hours, built up to I was their #1 agent in 2012, before I made the switch to Kentwood. But before that, this is us up in Steamboat Lake, and that was our favorite place to go to get away. Hugging me is my daughter Taylor, and then Kelsey and my wife Lori. And like I said, Kelsey was born here in Colorado. We love Steamboat Lake, love Steamboat, but that's where we would spend our time. So that, skipping ahead, that's our family now. And less the big hair, and daughter Kelsey, Lori, crazy dog Cooper there that I'm holding, rescue dog from Texas that was literally rescued right before they're going to put him down, and so he keeps things interesting. And then my daughter Taylor in the middle, and her dog that I have mixed feelings about, but nevertheless, Taylor is a school teacher. She's a rookie school teacher at Crawford Elementary in Aurora School District, which has been a real learning experience for her. She graduated from UCCS in Colorado Springs, and Kelsey is a freshman at up in Boulder. And so that's our family. But as I build up my business, I have a confession to make. In and around 2006, I came to one of your meetings, and I realized quickly that I couldn't afford the dues at that time, and I really couldn't afford the time because I was working 80-hour weeks. But I always promised myself I would come back. It took a while, but fortunately things happened and I came back. So glad to be part of this organization, very much so. So business-wise then, in 2013, I decided to move to Kentwood. I started in a family-owned business, and I always hoped to be back into a family-owned business. Caldwell Banker obviously was not. So I went to Kentwood, a locally owned business, been around for 30 years. And that was a bit of a scary move because I went from being the top guy at Caldwell Banker to being very much the average guy at Kentwood with the quality of the brokers that they have there, and found myself sitting next to Edie Marks and people like that, and people told me you'll never make it there, you're not in a country club and all that. Couldn't be further from the truth. Really wonderful people there, and it's been a great place to work since that time. 2014, I started a team, and because I was trying to get some stability in my life, and I felt I could also give better service to my clients if I had a team. So that is, skipping ahead, that is my team that we work together. Heather, right here. Her and I worked together at Caldwell Banker for years. She handles all our transactions and administrative duties. Britt has been with us, with me for 5 years. My wife Lori, myself. Nancy is a newer broker with our team, and on the far right is Matthew, who's not on our team but is one of our preferred lenders, and we've worked together for years. And the team is all about serving our clients, and that's what we try to do every day. We do a lot of work with young military families. At Caldwell Banker, I was part of the USAA program, the insurance. They also have real estate. So I got to work with a lot of young military families. A lot of those families we sold homes to in 2008 and 9 and 10 when the market was really bad, and now they're selling, and they've got $150,000 in equity, more than they ever dreamt they'd have, and they're able to buy their family home now. So even though those were tough times, there's always a silver lining, and it was good for them. And then carried on today to have the team. But I wanted to talk about, if I may, where this picture was taken. In the background, you can see a little bit of it as well. And that was at an event called Hoot and Holler, if anyone's familiar with that. Okay. And the CADA Foundation. So I've had the privilege of working with the Atkinson family. Jean and Ken started the foundation in 2006. For those of you that don't know the story, they live in Centennial. She lives in Centennial. It's a grassroots organization here in Centennial. And they had 4 children. They lost 2 to Fanconi anemia. And I've had the privilege of working with the other 2 daughters. And I got to know Jean. And this is the annual fundraiser that they have called Hoot and Holler that, from my experience, has been one of the most amazing fundraisers. This past year, we were able to increase our participation, our little team, to be a silver sponsor, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. For those of you that don't know, Jean lost her 2 daughters, 2 kids, son and daughter, to that horrible disease, and then she lost her husband to a horrible crime in 2016. So that foundation, when you go to that fundraiser, it's amazing because people are passionate about the cause, fighting Fanconi anemia, and they're very passionate about their love for Jean Atkinson, what she's been through. So that's basically who I am and our team and my business. And I'm very glad to be part of this organization. I look forward to participating at a higher level. Thank you.
Thank you. I need to use a clicker though, so I got to either move instead of this one. Okay.
While Diane is setting up, I might mention the Hoot and Holler that you mentioned in your talk. We do all the printing for that, and it is really quite an incredible program. But also the Atkinson's family, he's the fellow you might recall was murdered right in Centennial, right in Homestead Farm 2. He was a doctor, and it was big news out here in the South. My sister lives right next door to them, and she saw the whole thing. It was really incredible. It was terrible. But yeah, and this Hoot and Holler is for the children, the 2 children that passed away, but really quite an event.
Yeah, I happen to know Jean Atkinson quite well through a mutual friend, and I was telling Mary Alice a couple summers ago, I flew out to Michigan with Jean Atkinson and some of her family, and there was a bike ride across America to raise money for Fanconi anemia. And those 2 riders came through where we were and spent the night. And Jean was there the whole time. She is an absolutely incredible woman. Amazing what she has gone through in her life is unbelievable. But what a privilege to get to know her. Thank you.
Hi. So I wanted to just start out by saying thank you all for your time. I joined Rotary in 2007 by Roxy Hahn dragging me in. I really am grateful. John Peterson's over there saying, "This is your fault." And I did my classification talk, again, 12 years ago. But I have recently done a business meeting, a business minute, that I drug out a little bit. And I talked about my financial planning practice. And I thought it would just be fun to get to know who I am, where I came from, and just a little bit about me. My parents grew up in Delaware. My mom was a cheerleader. My dad was in the Navy. My mom was an artist. My dad was an engineer who ended up working as a safety engineer for NASA, and they had me very young, super young, like age 17, 18 young, super young. Family dynamics, I'm just going to say I had a really hard childhood. I didn't have my parents. They had divorced when I was less than 1, and my mom and I grew up together. So let's just say that. I became a very self-reliant kid. Never could count on anybody but myself to raise myself, which is why I have a much stronger foundational respect for this group, because we do a lot to help kids and people who need some support. Very stubborn now as an adult, probably because of that survivorship instinct that I had to have. I do not consider myself a victim at all. I am so grateful for my experience because it's made me so strong and passionate about what I do. The only constant I had in my life was I got drug into cross country and track running. Hated running the mile. I would take an F for the day, but one day a coach said, hey, just walk it. I'll give you an A for the rest of the semester. And I'm like, done. So I won the race. And I got sucked up by a gentleman, Richard Haywood, Coach Haywood, and he trained me all the way to the point of me being in Junior Olympics. And I know, it was 100 pounds ago, but it did happen, okay? I had a really great career. I was running strong. I was participating in running internationally. However, on January 1st in '82, I had a horrific car accident. I was very grateful to God because I didn't walk away from this, but I only had an injury of an ankle problem. Everybody thinks that's minor. That was devastating as a distance runner. But I went ahead and learned a lot about grit. I continued racing. I varsity lettered 9 times in my high school. I continued with Junior Olympics. At the end of the day, I was, again, 9 varsity letters, over 75 or 80 medals, trophies, and I don't know how many newspaper articles that were about us, my team, and my running. But there wasn't a lot about this that was very important to me. My most important aspect was my coach Haywood was my role model and my only parent figure. So that was fine. But where was it going to take me from there? I had scholarships all over the country for distance running, but I wanted to get to know my dad. My dad was living in Maryland. He was working out at the Goddard Space Center, working back and forth between Houston and Maryland. So I picked up my bags. I grew up in Arizona, packed up my bags, and I flew. And I said, let's do this. Walked on to the University of Maryland campus. I studied and received a Bachelor of Science in Graphic Design, Marketing, Advertising Design, and Communications. After that, decided it probably wasn't a good idea to be close to my dad, so I went home. And I ended up doing graphic design and advertising, but I tapped out in pay within a year. Bought my first house when I was 22. I did contract work for companies like Honeywell, Intel, Motorola, McDonnell Douglas. I was a print broker, handling $4 and $5 million budgets. You could appreciate that. It was awesome, it was fun. But I needed to go back and resolve some things back east. So I was like, okay, shake, shake, shake. If my dad was a safety engineer and my mom was an artist, how in the world did I become a financial advisor? I walked in to Bound. Bound is a financial printing company, which basically anything that happens on Wall Street before it happens has to be approved by the SEC, and then you have less than 24 hours to print prospectuses and have them distributed throughout the world. So I was part of that team. The SEC allowed for graphics to be part of that prospectus, so I knew a lot about what was going on Wall Street before it happened. I worked big deals out of DC and New York for about 6 years. I worked the Lockheed Martin Marietta merger, took AOL public, and a lot of international deals. A lot of corporate financial stuff. But I missed being in the West. So I plopped down in Colorado, didn't know a soul, just said, let's just meet people. It was fun. And that's all she wrote. I switched companies and went to R.R. Donnelley for a little bit. and then decided, I was working a job for Quest actually, and Ralph Macchio was in my office and he said, well, Diane, you stay, you don't have a family to go home to. I was not happy, so I quit. I took a break. And I went home and I said, you know what? I'm gonna have some babies. So I did some marketing for small companies, doing director level stuff. I did that for a couple years, but then I found Trilogy. When I wanted to get back into the financial world, I didn't want to do it on the corporate side. I've done enough corporate work. I wanted to help families, business owners, nonprofits. I wanted to help and get that satisfaction personally. So I found Trilogy. I've been here a long time. I've got clients all over the country. I am referral only. I've been referral only since I started. And I've been with Trilogy now for 12 years. So my mom is still living in Arizona. My dad has since retired to San Diego. I actually have an office in San Diego. I have an office in Scottsdale. I'm in Arizona quite a bit. I have 8 offices in California, and I have a Boston office as well. So my why. These munchkins are my why. And I know that every parent says, oh my gosh, I love my kids, they're great. Well, my kids are great, and I love them very much. And I just really, we do anything for our kids. And I'm proud of who they are. I'm proud of who they've grown to be. And I just really enjoy watching our youth become adults and how they're going to impact this world. So that's my why. And then my where and with whom would be road trips. This is my mom, Gail. I was thinking the other day, I'm 53 years old. And when my mom was 53, she had a 37-year-old daughter. Are you kidding me? I cannot picture myself with a 37-year-old daughter, but there you are. I am a mountain girl. I love to be in the trees. I get my balancing from being up in the woods, whether it's trails or camping. To me, camping without a tent under the stars is the best way to go. And then my dogs. Lucy is my 3-year-old black German Shepherd, or that's Stella, sorry. Lucy is my brown 14-year-old Shepherd. And then we have a ranch in Tombstone, Arizona, 15 horses. I'm out there quite a bit, riding and just enjoying the West, literally the West. But spending time with my friends, I don't have a ton of friends, but the friendships I have are lifetime. And I just enjoy being out there. And what I'm putting out there now is my commitment. I want to spend one-on-one time with people because what I'm learning is it's just so heartwarming to get to know people on a personal basis. And I'd love to spend more time with so many of you who I don't know very well. And then being at my house. I like being a homebody. I'm not always serious. And of course that rubs off onto my babies. But we do have fun, just hanging around, going places, doing silly things. But what I am serious about is helping people. Rotary's been an important part, and so many times I've been grateful to Roxy for bringing me into this group. You guys are a great family to have. However, I'm also was on the board of directors for the Listen Foundation. Both my children have hearing loss and use hearing aids. It's a neurological issue, so it's not fixable. But again, that's not a problem. They have a healthy life. But I do support the Listen Foundation as well as Integrated Family Community Services. Shelterbox is very, very connected with Rotary. I support them as well, organization that takes and partners with Rotary to help countries and groups of people who have been stricken by horrible situations. Women's Foundation, and of course I've done the Avon Walk. That was tough, but fun. So at the end of the day, why am I at Trilogy? I'm at Trilogy because there are 3 pillars of integrity that we have with our planning. One is a personal. We take a personal approach with planning. We're an independent firm. We manage about almost $3 billion of assets. And the integrity we have and the technology we have and the systems of being upfront with what's going on in the industry, legislatively, laws, all kinds of things that we need to do. It's not just about the money. The money is a tool to make sure that you have what you need when you need it. That is so important. There are 1 million financial people out there who can manage your assets, but making sure they're protecting people, That's the thing. Nobody ever thinks about what could go wrong. But when something goes wrong and they're not prepared, then you really think about it. So for me, financial planning is all about being prepared, certainly having financial strength, but being diversified in a way where you know what's going on with what you do. I am a real estate friendly advisor. I think having real estate can be an important aspect for your planning. Some people do that, some people don't. Trilogy doesn't have ownership interest in any product or service. I truly am a fiduciary for the best interest of my clients. And I'm also willing to have those hard conversations. I'll sit down and tell a client something I know they don't want to hear, but it's the truth. So I can look back on my 12 years knowing I haven't compromised my integrity. I do the best job I can for the clients that I have. And I just promise to be truthful with them. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I just wanted to reach out and just say I appreciate your time, and I'll answer any questions if you have any. No? Safe. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Diane. And I just want to say that Diane is speaking today because I had a suggestion by Don. Don's been here for 4 years, and he expressed the interest in, I'd like to hear from some of the older members that have been in the club for a long time.
Not old.
Well, let me rephrase that. I'd like to hear from some of the younger members that have been here for a long time. And I think it's a great idea. I wanted to try and get Randy Pye because, he was the founder of Centennial and the mayor for 3 terms. But apparently he wasn't going to be here today. And Diane very, very thoughtfully took over for us at the last minute. So I do appreciate that. And, that was great because I didn't know some of the stuff about you. And I've been in the club now for 7 years. So that's great. Okay, with that, would you please stand and join? Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Classification talks threw me off. Diane, you're going to draw the ticket, the winning ticket, since you won the Blue Marble last week, and you have no interest at all in winning this week.
Did you all know she had Harvard when she left here after winning?
Did she?
Really?
So it'll pay your deductible?
It's not my fault.
Oh, okay. All right.
Any of that, but it wasn't bad enough to make the other guy go through. I just let it go. Just a moment. First what? No. I'm not the winner, but I'll tell you who the winner is. Ending in 2601. Dun dun. Yeah.
Dave Walter.
Yay.
Wow. So are you going to come up and draw for him? Is he here? Did you?
He was here.
Yeah, he left, right?
We will save Dave's lunch money for next week.
Did you see that, Grace?
No.
Oh, come on.
And no. All right.
All right. Okay, now would you please stand and join me in the things we think, say, and do? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? With that, go out and have a great day and know